First, want to thank you for coming out today. First, before we get started, I just want to say that this is an active investigation. It's fluid. Anything that is told to you today could very well change in the future as the investigation unfolds. So we're going to provide you with facts as we know them at this point in time without causing any kind of compromise to our investigation. On July 4th, slightly before midnight, Winter Haven Police Department responded to a call for service for shots fired. Upon arrival, officers found one subject that had been hit with a bullet. They started life-saving measures on that individual. That individual was transported to the hospital and ultimately succumbed to his injuries. While the investigation was unfolding, there were two other male individuals that were found to have bullet or gunshot wounds, and they are both at this point in time in recovery, and it's not life-threatening at this point in time. What we determined when officers arrived, there was a large crowd of people that were in the 200 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. A impromptu block party had started and been initiated by some folks, and fireworks. While everybody was celebrating the 4th of July and the fireworks, something happened, and that's when the gunfire took place, the gunshots took place. I want to extend my condolences to the family, his direct family, any family members that he has, with the knowledge and passing on the knowledge to them that we are going to do everything that we can as an agency to put those responsible behind bars where they belong, for basically taking a celebration of our country and turning it into a sad event for those that were involved, the family members. I want to have Chief David Brandon come to the podium, and then Captain Nunnery will be brought forward as well with some other information and some assistance from you guys, asking you guys to help us out before we take questions.
As I said, our detectives are diligently working on this case right now, following up any leads that we're getting. We just want to make sure the public is aware. We don't have any evidence to say that the public right now is in danger. This appears to be an isolated incident, and we are still actively investigating. As you know, we're only about 12 hours into this investigation, and we don't have really any more to offer on that at this point, but just want to reiterate that right now we have nothing to show that the public is in any danger at this time.
Yes, I'd just like to add well, just to add on to what the chief said, we really need the public's help in gathering some leads to bring some closure to this sad situation. As you see to my left here is the Crime Stoppers. You can call us anonymously. You can use an app. You can text. You can call my office directly. We just need the public's help in trying to bring some closure to this incident.
You'll be receiving a release here shortly once we get done with this interview. And Chief Brandon made a comment with regard to that large crowd that we mentioned. That's a large crowd, and somebody in that crowd saw something that took place. They know what took place. For whatever reason, they're scared. They don't want to get involved. Whatever the reason may be, we're asking them to step forward and do the right thing. If this was their family member, they would want that. They would expect that from others that were there. So we're asking them to step forward and help us with that. There was a fairly significant sized crowd at this location. So somebody saw something that happened, and we need that help. As Captain Nunnery pointed out, the Crime Stoppers, there's all kinds of ways. It is anonymous. You can remain anonymous, and it is a $5,000 reward at this time for information leading to the arrest of this individual. So with that, there's not a whole lot of questions that we can answer because it is an active investigation, but we will take any questions that you may have, and we'll answer what we can.
How many shots were fired?
I don't have that information.
Were the shots fired at the same time as the fireworks or after the fireworks?
It's my understanding there were fireworks that were going off at the same time.
Do you believe the individuals known to each other, at least, are the survivors at least cooperating in any way?
There are some cooperation from folks. I can't divulge that information right now as far as relationships are concerned. However, there are some people that are cooperating that have come forward and are trying to help us out.
Do you believe the victims were like specifically targeted, or was this a random, some kind of random shooting?
Again, can't get into a lot of detail, but the indication is that it wasn't just a random thing. Right now, as they stand.
Are we talking about a single weapon, or are we talking multiple weapons were fired here?
Don't have that information available to me.
What does it say to you about what's going on in this country? We had a shooting in Chicago. We have another one here, 4th of July. It's supposed to be a celebration, and people are losing their lives. We see mass shooting after shooting. This would be, I guess, considered a mass shooting in some way. What is going on, and what needs to be done?
That's a loaded question.
It is, it's important.
But what we're doing, first of all, as it stands, these are constitutional rights that people have, and we have to be careful of that and not tread on those. We're very limited as law enforcement of what we can and cannot do. Our position on it, whether I'm not going to give our position on that because it really is irrelevant from our perspective. What is important is that people need to calm down. They need to relax. Going to a gun is not the answer, especially if you have a grudge with someone or if you feel like you've been wronged in some way. That is absolutely not acceptable at all. Now, that's completely different from a mass shooting, but in this particular situation, there's no justification that you pull out a gun in a crowded lot with a whole bunch of people that are celebrating the 4th of July and firing around, whether it's in the air, at somebody, or whatever. It does not matter. That's unacceptable.
People living in the area said that anytime there's a holiday, that's where they gather, and that there's been incidents in that area before. Has that been a problem area?
Martin Luther King Boulevard has had a gathering. There's gatherings in those areas, especially with regard to those vacant lots. And I want to make something clear that while we're investigating this, we're also trying to identify root problems and what we can work with the community. And that's really the strategies that we're going to have to work with going forward, is working with our community. We have a great relationship with our community. We need to develop a better relationship with our community and see what we can do going forward as far as keeping this from happening in the future, because it happened around a lot of vacant private property.
I know the street was shut down. Is it still shut down right now?
No, it's back open from what I understand. No, that was shut down so that we could process the scene properly, and when it became daylight, so that we could have better view on things happening.
Do we have any indication of what kind of firearm was used?
Can't reveal that right now.
Do neighbors need to worry about any retaliatory actions at this point?
Not that we're aware of, no, sir. No.
When you say large crowd, what's like the estimate?
David, you could probably answer based on information, but you're talking about approximate 200 people or more.
And only 3 people hit. It seemed like it probably could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse. Could have been, like this gentleman mentioned, it could have ended up looking like a mass shooting.
Is that why you believe it was a targeted incident and not an accidental?
I'd like to give you information on that, but I can't right now. Yeah. And we will update you guys as quickly and as thoroughly as we can as we're able to check some boxes and get some things taken care of.
Has your department seen anything to this scale before? It doesn't seem like something like this happens all that often out here.
Even small communities, it really, unfortunately, there's violence, there's gun violence in the community, even before the trend that we've seen around the nation is happening. Not as much, but it's still there, and we always have to be careful because, frankly, people, I don't know what it is, but some people just immediately go to their anger to violence, whether it be with fists, knife, gun, whatever it is. And, I don't know why that's occurring, but it is. The fact of the matter is, and we've got to, as a society, not as a police department, as a society, we got to figure that out and work toward that as a society, bottom line.
How important are witness accounts to helping you all solve these kind of cases?
Extremely important. It helps put us on track with our resources to make sure we're not wasting time on. Now we're going to go down every single trail. That's what we do. We have detectives that work diligently in this, and they will go down every single trail that we find. But with that said, if there's information that can provide us with, if somebody can see who they saw with a gun, maybe not necessarily they pulled the trigger, but they saw him with a gun, that gives us somewhere to start with before we have to sift through all these other things. It helps us potentially get someone off the street quicker that we need to.
Just to be clear, do we have any suspect description at this point?
Not at this point. Any other questions?
When will we be identifying the victim? When will we be identifying the victim?
Marcy's law has been enacted in this, so the family has wished to keep that quiet, so, okay?
Okay.